Hello, fishermen. This is Lang Solberg, Commercial Fisherman and Business Development Manager for Deckhand Logbook. We're picking up where we left off on the first video, having just completed our trip details section of the beginning of the VTR where we entered the operator name, vessel name, and a couple of other details. And we have this friendly message here in front of us as they are scattered throughout the app to help guide us through the eVTR process. And when we are done reading that message, we can go ahead and tap OK to go into the fishing phase of Deckhand Pro. A couple things to note before we move on regarding what you're seeing on the screen in front of you. The left-hand list that I'm moving up and down here is comprised of fishing activities that belong to the current trip that you are on. The topmost bar that I'll expand now has trip, the word trip, and the date in blue. And it includes options and features that impact your entire trip, such as the ability to close the trip, abort it, preview the data in your report before you send it, or look at current warnings that Deckhand is giving you, explaining why the eVTR isn't quite yet ready to be sent. The bars below it, like trip details here that I've just expanded, are the individual components of the eVTR, such as I just said, trip details and individual fishing efforts as they accumulate as you go along fishing. And we'll see an example of that here in a minute. At any time, you can edit, look at summaries, or delete these components, but please note you cannot delete the trip details part. You can just edit it and look at a summary. Another note before we move on, if you can't conduct any fishing activity on this particular trip due to weather or a mechanical breakdown or some other reason, you can simply select End Trip in the bottom left-hand corner of the screen. Deckhand will ask you why you didn't fish and provide a list of possible reasons from which you can make your selection. And you can send a non-fishing activity eVTR to Garfo at that point. But for this example, we're going to follow through with a mock fishing trip to show you how Deckhand works while you are fishing. So let's get started. For this example, we're going to touch the edit button in the top right-hand corner of the map, and we're going to select the scallop gear type. Once we've selected that, we'll make a note here about what you're seeing on the map. So the cursor there in the middle of the map viewer is my actual GPS location here at my office in Washington State. If you are on your fishing vessel, however, you'll see the same cursor depicting your GPS location where you actually are. And if you're underway, a track line will drop behind the vessel. And as we start marking fishing activity, different marks and annotations will appear on the map screen showing where the fishing activity took place. So it's a very useful visual feature in Deckhand paired with just the simple act of completing a logbook report showing where your fishing activity took place for your own use, not for anybody else's. So when, in this example, in the scallop example, when we're ready to start a tow, we'll go ahead and hit the start button. Now the dredge is overboard. We are making a tow. It might take us several minutes, 15, 20 plus minutes to make a tow, depending on where you're fishing and how you're fishing. And when that dredge comes back aboard, this is the point at which we'll hit end. We'll go ahead and touch the Add a Species bar. We'll type SCA for to filter the list for scallops, and we'll just select scallop, C, the SCAL species code for Garfo. And we will enter estimated pounds kept for the fishing effort. So we'll just, for this example, we'll enter 200. If you have any discards, you can enter discards. If you're a trawler or some other multi-species fishery, you can add a species by touching the Add a Species bar. But for now, we'll just leave this as a single species example using sea scallops as the retained catch. And when we've entered these details, we'll select Continue. Now, these are questions that Garfo asks of fishermen. They're recognizable, likely, if you've been used to doing paper VTRs or using some other method of submitting VTRs. So we're going to start with chart area number. And I know that 500 is a chart area number that is a real number in the Garfo region, and Deckhand knows that as well. If you enter an incorrect chart area number, a red exclamation symbol will stay visible next to the chart area number label and will stay there until you've entered a correct one. We'll just go ahead and enter the minimum numbers just for the sake of time for the rest of these examples, starting with mesh/ring size. And remember, as I'm going along here to enter values or numbers in each of these fields, I'm just touching the black boxes on the right-hand side and filling out the number and selecting enter. We'll call it 1 haul, 0 hours, and we'll just call it a 1-minute tow for this example. Now we're going to skip down to the location bar at the bottom where you see the latitude and longitude, and I'm going to touch edit. Again, my actual GPS location is shown here on the map. Deckhand knows whether or not I am inside or outside the Garfo region. And for this example, I'm going to have to physically scroll over to the East Coast and drop a pin somewhere in the Garfo region where most of my fishing activity occurred for that effort. I can do that by tapping my finger on the map in the big blue ocean there. I can also tap either of the boxes, latitude and longitude boxes at the bottom of the screen to manually enter a lat and long, or I can touch locate in the bottom right-hand corner of the screen to update the vessel's current location using the GPS in the iPad. And when I'm done selecting a lat long, I'll go ahead and tap done in the upper right-hand corner of the map. Now we're back to the fishing activity details screen where we've entered all of the numbers correctly for this effort. If we didn't enter a correct number, we would know it because there would be a red exclamation symbol next to the field that was incorrect, but we're looking good here, so we'll tap complete. And now we're back to where we started in this video, which is where we can hit the start button again if we have moved into a different chart area or start another tow or otherwise want to record another fishing effort based on our own desire for how we keep our records in our logbook or based on Garfo rules. A quick note here that's important. In theory, if you conduct many tows in the same chart area, you could just hit start at the beginning of your fishing activity and wait until the end when you're getting ready to steam in before you hit end and fill out the details that we just filled out. Or if you're someone who likes to record things tow by tow, trap by trap, etc., you can do this cycle, the start, entering the catch, entering the fishing activity details, and coming back to the beginning of the loop here for each individual haul. It's really up to you. For now, we're going to stop the video here and pick up on the next video showing you how to complete and send the actual eVTR to Garfo. Thanks so much for joining us. We hope you find this helpful, and thank you so much for fishing with Deckhand Pro.